All right, our first speaker today is Kevin Donnelly. He's the Director of Pavement Preservation and California Regional Director of Western Emulsions, Inc., and brings his expert experience working over 28 years on both private and public sector technical engineering projects and government contracts. Formerly working for Santa Barbara County Public Works Department, he was responsible for their pavement preservation program and was integral to the development of fiscal strategy and planning for county roads. With an expertise in network-level road system planning and funding, Kevin has brought significant local government experience to the agencies he serves on pavement preservation, recycling, pavement management systems, and network planning. And he's going to talk a little bit about the challenges that Los Angeles County has faced with both shrinking budgets and newer greenhouse gas laws and how that all impacts everything. Kevin?
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Kevin Donnelly. I work for Western Emulsions. Been with Western Emulsions about 7 years. Formerly, before that, I was with the County of Santa Barbara in California, running their pavement management system and setting up their pavement preservation program. And for the last 8 years, I've actually been involved with LA County, sometimes on the sidelines, sometimes being involved, but always kind of helping them set up their pavement preservation program, much like we did in our Santa Barbara County. And so Greg Kelly from LA County was supposed to be here today to do this presentation, but he couldn't make it, so they had asked me to come and give the presentation for them. So this is a presentation about how Los Angeles County has responded to some of the sustainable and climatic changes in our state government and local government. We have some, I wouldn't call them mandates, but we have some challenges ahead of us. California's always been an environmental leader, and they've asked us to reduce greenhouse gas in our local agencies, and there's some real challenges to doing that. Right now, agencies have less money. They have they're trying to take a limited amount of dwindling funds and stretch those dollars further. We keep getting hit with gas tax issues that are taking money out of the system. So, in a time like this, some of the questions that were asked are what are the applicable climate change initiatives that we have, and we'll talk about those today. What are the local streets, what's the needs of the local streets and road system in California? And are there ways to fix our roads that minimize the impact on our environment, that kind of fall in line with some of the things that the government is asking us to do? So California today is much like a lot of other states. We have a lot of congestion in California. Some of you know who visited some of our metropolitan areas. We have an infrastructure that I wouldn't say is failing, but is on its way to failing with the amount of funding that we're putting into the system. So we have a lot of challenges. One of the things that we've been tasked with, local agencies have been tasked with, is how do you do more with less? And can you maintain your system at a lower cost and still meet some of the greenhouse gas reduction targets that we've set in California? And how can we achieve a balance between statewide goals and bringing our local streets and roads into a state of good repair? Hopefully these are questions that you'll understand how LA County responded to and how they're making this happen today. So if we look at some of the transportation needs, in 2007, a committee was formed by the 58 counties and 482 cities in California to come up with an estimate of what the costs were to get local streets and roads funding. We found that the state was getting a lot of funding, and they had a very good system for going out and quantifying what their needs were. But the local agencies weren't doing such a great job. Mostly because, individually they were doing a very good job of having a PMS system and collecting data and going to their local boards and city councils to get funding, but they weren't taking all that information and putting it together and taking it to the state. So back in 2007, I was part of that effort. I was still working for the County of Santa Barbara, and it's helped us collect some real valuable data over the years. So the assessment's conducted every other year, and it does include costs for bridges, hardscape, traffic signals, and other things in the county and city right-of-ways. You can see here in 2008, we had a lot more green. And in 2016, you can see that green is going away, a little bit more red. But we are basically at an at-risk position right now. We are on, if you're looking at a pavement curve and you're taking this PCI and looking at a pavement curve, we're starting to kind of fall off. And as a lot of you know, that once you start falling off that curve, it starts becoming very expensive to get back. So in 2008, we were PCI of 68. Now we're at a PCI of 65. There has some funding that some funding has gone into the system that has really helped to kind of slow that down just a little bit. But we keep seeing every year, like specifically this year, our gas tax is kind of a mess. They gave agencies too much money, so they held back a lot of money this year. So there wasn't a tremendous amount of work going on that would help prop up or sustain that PCI. So we're in a bit of trouble. Our 10-year needs look like this. You could see we're $67.6 billion in 2008. Now we're up to $73.6 billion. Once again, that's not just roads. That includes hardscape and anything that's in the right-of-way. But we're at a PCI 65. So currently our funding is $2 billion per year. And within 10 years, we're going to drop to 54 PCI if we stay at that. So we're on that rapid decline right now. And our failed roads would go up to 25%. Right now we're at 6%. Once local roads are in a state of good repair, which we've targeted a PCI of 82 as our best management practice, once we can get them up to that level, it would only be about $2.4 billion annually to maintain that. So we have, there's a lot of effort underway to go out there and attain that funding through new taxes, through changes in gas tax, pulling some fees in from other areas. But there's about a $7.6 billion annually for 10 years on the table right now that we're hoping that the California legislators will get their act together and pass soon. Now, I've been doing this a long time, and the good news for us is that this is the first time there's been real serious discussion about this, where we actually find on both sides, Democrats and Republicans, they're starting now to talk and get together and know that this is a big problem that we need to fix. So that's good. So the local streets and roads report estimated that if agencies statewide utilize sustainable treatments for 50% of their projects, about $1 billion annually could be saved. So sustainable treatments would include your preservation treatments as well as recycling. Okay, asphalt recycling, cold in place recycling, a little bit of hot in place recycling has really moved into California, and it's helped plug some of those holes because it's cost effective, it's utilizing materials in place, and is considered a sustainable treatment. But one of the things that the report said that if agencies, and not many of them are doing this right now, but we're hoping more will, if agencies would take 50% of their projects and at least consider them for a recycling alternative, another $1 billion could come back in our system that we could spread out and help preserve, maintain, and keep safe our roads. So now that we've talked about the need, let's talk about the climate legislation. We have an assembly bill, AB 32. It was established to reduce greenhouse gases to 1990 levels by 2020. I will tell you, I've grown up in California. I grew up outside of Los Angeles. I remember when I was a kid and I was 12 years old playing soccer out there, and you could barely even breathe. Your chest would hurt so bad from all the smog. So in California, we've made leaps and bounds and kind of reining that in. They've done that through, vehicles that get better gas mileage, lots of other things we don't need to go into today. But the air's cleaner. And they want us to attain 1990 levels by 2020. And just recently, they've now said that they want to, by 2030, they want to reduce the 1990 levels by 40%. So these are huge, huge targets. So this is a big challenge for agencies because although they haven't come out and mandated that you do this on your roads, that you look at this when you're fixing your road system and reduce greenhouse gas, what they've done is they've told agencies that you need to come up with a strategic plan for your communities. You need to look at rural areas, you need to look at urban areas and figure out how to reduce greenhouse gas. And every county and city has had to put together one of these plans. So as they're putting together the plans, it's kind of changed the culture within agencies. It's changed the culture within the counties and cities to say, well, we need to look at everything. And that's one of the reasons that about 4 or 5 years ago, LA County started looking at this. It was not forced on them, but it certainly became part of the culture over there on how to do it, and now they're doing their part. And it almost seems, especially in California, that we're going to be mandated soon to look at this stuff on every single treatment that we do. I feel that it's going that way, and agencies like LA County are going to be out at the forefront of this. So, is it feasible that if an agency incorporated sustainable approaches, there would be less impacts to our environment? Yes. And would it cost less than conventional methods? Well, yes, I think in both cases you'll find here, I'll show you LA County's program a little bit, and you'll see that they were able to accomplish both these tasks, reduce greenhouse gas significantly and save quite a significant amount of money. So in 2007, LA County started looking for better ways to take care of their roads. They were looking for treatments that were cost effective, less expensive, had better life cycle costs than what they were doing, had less impact to the environment, and reduced impact to the traveling public, reduced landfill deposition. I mean, in California, we have, diversion rates from landfills of 69 to 75%. That's a big deal for us. If we're taking asphalt off the roads and putting them into landfills, that's the wrong way to be going. So most agencies are finding ways to reutilize things and not do that. And they were also looking for treatments that were going to perform similar to conventional treatments. Obviously a fog seal is not going to be the same, or a slurry, or even sometimes a cape seal is not going to be the same as an overlay. But what else was out there? They started looking at cold in place recycling. Prior to all of this, LA County's approach was really a worse first approach. When I first started working with them in 2009, that's pretty much where they were. They were taking a lot of recommendations from their board of supervisors, a lot of phone calls coming in, and trying to put some oil on the squeaky wheel. They were utilizing an antiquated pavement management system that was very limited in its capacity to help them plan out into the future. They were doing limited preventive maintenance work. Their typical reconstruction methods were remove and replace. Lots of hot mix projects out there, a lot of mill and fill. And these past approaches are currently being utilized by a lot of agencies in California right now. So LA County has been somewhat of a leader with adopting this program and moving towards realizing some of its benefits. So their sustainable approach was set pretty much in 2008. This is a board-approved, three-pronged approach. They were very good and proactive in how they set this up. They didn't just, go into a back room and do this. They threw it all out there for everybody, design, construction, maintenance. Everybody was involved in this process to come up with a program that was acceptable for everybody, that had a little bit of input from everybody. And this is what they came up with and took to their board. Was number one, take care of their good roads first. Pavement preservation is the highest priority for them. Preserve what's good, push off, that costly rehabilitation as far as you can into the future by using lower cost alternatives. Number two, reutilize materials in place, or use recycled materials whenever they can in their treatment selections. This would include like wrap, taking their grindings and turning them into wrap chip, slurry aggregates. And then three is reutilizing existing materials in place, mostly cold process, cold in place recycling, cold central plant. So we'll go through these just a little bit here. Typical pavement curve for them, this isn't very detailed, but it just gives you a little bit idea of what their costs are. They're trying to catch roads up there in that preservation state towards the top, and keep them from falling down into that much more costly area down below. For them, pavement preservation is 4 to 10 times less costly than conventional hot paving. Preservation treatments utilize or usually result in about 80% less greenhouse gas emissions. Energy use, I believe the National Center for Pavement Preservation actually set those numbers. And micro-milled surfaces. I mean, they micro-mill just about everything prior to any treatment. And that has been it's been, I mean, that could be a whole other discussion, but from my standpoint, what it's helped do is rideability has always been an issue. Cape seals are a big part of their program. Cape seals don't always fix rideability. So what they found, if they go in there and they micromill and they just take off a little tiny bit off the surface, they can actually make that road a lot smoother, and there's a lot more public acceptance of this. So that's been a huge part of their program, because you don't want to go out and implement a program like this and have the public go crazy on you. And what they've been able to do is they've been able to mitigate some of that. They've been able to manage some of that by actually putting out treatments that are smooth, resemble an overlay, and are easily publicly accepted. So that's been great. So we're just going to go through, I'll show you some of the projects that they've done. So this is Doublegrove. This was a pavement preservation, really a stopgap measure. They needed to kind of preserve this area and stretch the dollars out there as long as they could, because they knew they were going to be coming back here in the next 10 years. They just wanted to put something down to help keep the roads safe and in good shape. This is located over near the city of West Covina. It was 27 lane miles. And they chose a pavement preservation strategy of micro-milling with a Cape seal on top. And also some roads just received a crack seal and a wrap slurry seal. Now the Cape seal is essentially a scrub seal using a wrap chip with a type 2 wrap slurry on top. So once again, they're reutilizing materials in place, part of their sustainable program. So you can see it's the cost options down below. They chose the sustainable pavement preservation treatment. It was about 70 cents a square foot, so it resulted in about a $1.4 million cost savings for them over a traditional method of just conventional resurfacing. Now, most people would look at that and say that's a really good road. Yeah, there were some roads in that area that looked like that, that just received a crack fill and a slurry on top. There were a lot of roads that were looking like that. Another part of this too is, this option was really appropriate for them. Lots of these areas have 2 inches of asphalt over native. Some of them don't even know what's underneath there, so they don't want to open it up. So this was a very good treatment for that, to keep them from getting in trouble. Some minor dig outs on the project. They'd go out there and do the micro mill. You could see the micro milled surface there, smooth out the roadway. Sometimes those, you get those bumps where the pavement's coming together, and they'd mill that off, and they'd actually shrink that crack face just a little bit. So that actually helped to keep the cracks from mitigating back through. You can see the micro milled surface there. They'd do the scrub seal. They'd pull a broom and push the material down into the cracks. You see there's the scrub seal getting rolled with the wrap chip on top. Wrap slurry was placed on top of that. And there's the finished surface. Happy residents. They've got a road that's now going to last 7 to 12 years, and they're going to be out there again for their next phase in about 10 years. So number 2 on their list was use recycled materials in project selection. Wrap aggregates, I think, about right now, I think we're about $85 a ton for new hot mix placed. When you start looking at wrap, the cost of that's about $30 a ton. So, it really becomes important in the CIR. But when LA County set up this program, they wanted to take all their assets from you. That's money to them. They realized that is an asset that's got a tangible dollar attached to it. So they take everything, they stockpile it, they'll put out a small contract to have people come in and process it. They'll make their wrap chip, their wrap slurry, and they'll reutilize them in these projects. These are all contracted projects. There's a whole other side of the program, which is their in-house project up in the North County area, where they do this too. And incredibly cost effective, probably the lowest cost in the state for going out there and doing a scrub or a chip seal, because they're reutilizing everything in place. They're using their own crews. So very good program. So pavement millings are resized and reused for their pavement treatments, and for them this helps avoid removing raw materials from the earth, and that's part of this whole greenhouse gas discussion. They use 100% wrap on all of their projects since 2012. 75% of the materials for their base pavements utilize wrap in one way or another. They've recycled 640,000 tons of wrap just in the last 4 years. So huge amount. The wrap slurry, like I said, is a big part of the program. It's a conventional slurry. For those who haven't seen it or used it before, it's a conventional slurry that's got a type 2 wrap aggregate in it. It's got a lower emulsion content because of the higher residual of the wrap content. I particularly like it because it's placed and rolled, and it looks really good right off the bat. And because it's rolled, it reduces scuffing and steering, power steering turns, and so it's a really good part of their program. They're very happy with it. We see more and more agencies around them kind of moving into that too. So the third prong in their program is utilizing materials in place. The objective is to reutilize existing asphalt using techniques such as cold in place recycling or cold central plant recycling, and adding strengthening materials to the existing material below the pavement for cement, line, and emulsion. So, when we talk about in place, obviously cold in place, but they are now stripping off asphalt, stockpiling it, cement treating, processing that wrap, bringing it back in as a cold central plant mix, and putting it on top and capping it. And that's become a big part of their program, because now they're basically reconstructing the road for a lot less money. Here's a CIR project that we participated in. This was in 2011. It was kind of a partnership project with FHWA. It's 12 lane miles. PCI was 47. This is up in a mountainous area that goes from the North County, kind of goes through the mountains down into the LA County basin towards Los Angeles. And one of the things about this project is it was supposed to be a conventional mill and fill, but they couldn't figure out how to get the material up there. This is a windy road. It's up in the middle of nowhere. Closest plant might not have been able to get it there hot enough, so they were concerned about that. So they looked at CIR as an alternative, and the CIR was about $520,000 less and could accomplish the same thing that they were looking for. So they went ahead and did that. One of the differences is originally they were looking at a 2-inch mill and fill, which would have left a crack in the 5 inches of pavement that was there. With the 3 inches of CIR, they actually took out more of that crack. So they bought themselves a little more time before those cracks mitigate back up too in the CIR mix. So this was a very successful project. There's what it looked like before. Kind of a mountain road. You can see on the right how distressed the roadway was in some areas. And on the left, you can see the new recycled mix. That hasn't even been compacted yet. That was just laid down. And there's the completed project. It got 1.5 inches of asphalt rubber on top of it. So this road's going to be there for a long time. So the project was so successful that FHW came back and said, let's do another 33 lane miles of road up there. So they continued on with the treatment. Compared to the conventional method, it was $2.58 million in cost savings. So one thing that's not quantified on here, and I'm going to show you at the end, is the cost savings of all these treatments combined for their program, and also the greenhouse gas reduction, because that's another part of it. That's why they chose a lot of these treatments as well, is because it significantly reduced the amount of truck traffic and reduced the greenhouse gas emissions. So Angeles Forest before, in this next section, during construction. You see they're paving there at the CRM train. And after. Soil stabilization, I talked about that they do a lot of cement treat. They use an engineered approach that improves the strength and stability of in-place materials, and it avoids a lot of the costs that are associated with removing and replacing in-place materials. It takes a lot of the trucks off the roadway, less impact to the traveling public. Lennox Community Project was over in near LAX, near the city of Inglewood, and this was a cement treat with 3 inches of cold central plant recycled on top, and 1.5 inches of asphalt rubber hot mix on top. About $1 million in cost savings. You see how distressed the roadway was prior. They milled off all the asphalt, and they stockpiled it close by, about 2 miles away. They came in there and they did the cement treat and soil stabilization. There's the stockpile. They're processing the wrap. Wrap comes back and gets paved right on top of the new soil stabilized section. And there you have the wrap section, or the recycled section, completed. And that sat open for about 2 weeks. And then it was capped with the asphalt rubber hot mix. There's your finished surface. So the benefits of the sustainable approach for Los Angeles County is the cost savings of up to 50% compared to traditional methods, 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. They're maintaining the Earth's natural resources. There's a reduction in construction truck traffic. You look at cold in place recycling alone, you're taking 82 per lane mile, 82 trucks off the roadway per lane mile of import-export. That's a lot of trucking. Less construction working days. Most of these projects, or these treatments, have a lot less construction working days, so less impacts to the public. So you can see the cost savings. There's this thing. You can see the cost savings over here. They've saved $29.4 million in 5 years. This is through 2015. We're still putting together numbers for 2016-17 fiscal year, or 15-16 fiscal year. Reduction in energy consumption. Cold in place recycling is a big one, 72%. Pavement preservation is a big one at 80%. But total, we're looking at 76% over traditional methods of greenhouse gas reduction. So yes, they did meet those challenges of AB 32 and some of the initiatives they have in California right now with regards to sustainability. You can also see down there the total number of lane miles. Right here, they use a lot of rubber treatments. They are a big proponent for recycling tires. So recycled tire crumb rubber into their asphalt rubber hot mix. They've taken about 730,000 tires and recycled them into their roads. And so the amount of CO2 reduced from the atmosphere equals this over that 5-year period. 7,300 cars they've taken off the roadway. That's significant. So the program has been very successful. It's saved them cost. It's reduced greenhouse gas reductions. Happy constituents. So it's been a huge success for them. Pavement preservation projects, some of the takeaways on it, micromilling is a big one for them, works very well. Use of scrub seals and cape seals on fair and poor roads as a preservation tool and stopgap measure has extended the surface life of those roads. Utilizing wrap and treatment selections has kept them from having to take more stuff out of the earth. And utilizing rubber and thin lift overlays has kept a lot of tires out of our landfills. And the rehab and reconstruction projects, recycling existing materials in place like the cold central plant and the CIR, has gave them a life cycle on the roadway that's comparable to overlays. And the subgrade stabilization has saved them a lot of money over traditional reconstruction methods. California is committed to climatic change. We know that we are somewhat of a leader in the nation with regards to this. We'll see how that goes. But it's been quite a challenge. Local streets and roads are in dire need of additional funding for us. And so implementing sustainable pavement treatments is a good opportunity to meet some of the challenges of these environmental goals and also the fiscal goals that we have to improve our road condition. And we need to create incentives for agencies to try more sustainable approaches. LA County, I'm sure this presentation will be up someplace, but LA County has a great website that has a lot of this information about what they're doing. It quantifies it. They've got great promotional materials that they use in-house for this stuff. I highly urge you to go check it out. And I want to thank you for having me here this morning. It's been a pleasure to be here, so thanks.
We have time for a couple of questions. If anybody?
I probably don't need the mic, but that's okay. I'll use the mic. I was wondering, when you do the cement stabilization of the subgrade, you remove all the asphalt. I get that. How do you provide access for the homeowners during that
That's a good question.
setup of the cement?
They ramp all the driveways. Everything's ramped. So there's only a very short period of time when they're going out there and they've got the reclaimer going through that they keep traffic on it. And usually that's like a 2 or 3 hour window that street is closed. Once they've gone in there and they've processed for a very short period of time, even though they're down several inches sometimes from the curb and gutter, they will go in there, open it up to traffic, but they'll ramp everything first. So people always have access to their driveway except for that 3 hour window. It's really not a huge impact. You know, some people, you know, there's every once in a while you get somebody that comes through there and they're upset that they've got to go up a 6-inch ramp, you know, or whatever. But it's not very impactful to them. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I don't believe I need the microphone, but what kind of pushback are you getting politically by going to this from the traditional mill and fields? And how is that impacting what's going on?
I'll tell you, politically, you know, because I'm with Western and I'm in California all over the place, I interface with a lot of different agencies. Politically, we're not getting much pushback from this at all.
Really?
I mean, you know, the most pushback we typically get is internally in agencies where you get, you know, maintenance guys have been doing it one way for many years. You get design guys been doing it one way for many years. It's hard to get the ship to get all together and turn and go in a direction like this. But politically, when you talk about presenting to any council, any board, that you're going to reduce greenhouse gas, like I was saying at the beginning, it's so much part of the culture. They love this story.
Really?
Yeah. And so you may get certain politicians that really don't buy into it as much as others, but at the same time, overall, when you're talking about, you know, a city council or 5 elected board members in a county, they're supporting this big time. They love the story. Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
Typically, when projects are awarded, does the county take possession of all milled wrap, or does it go contractors that change case by case?
The county has a clause in there that takes possession of all RAP. It belongs to them. It is their asset. So, yeah, that's one of the unique things that LA County is doing that others aren't, is holding on to that asset. Yeah. Thanks for the
Got another
questions.
question over here.
LA City has their own plant. Yeah, LA City has 2. Well, they got one plant and another one they're building right now or replacing. LA County doesn't have their own plant. But so what they end up doing is they do so many Cape seals that they're able to take most of the wrap and use it for, you know, those treatments for a chip or a slurry. So they process all that. Sometimes if there's stuff left over, it goes to maybe a CIR you want to, on a rural roadway, you want to widen the roadway. So they'll come back and windrow a bunch of wrap in front of the recycling machine, and they'll just lay it back a little farther. So yeah, they get very creative with it. But it would be nice if they had their own plant, and I think that might be coming in the future. Well, no.
We got one more question over here.
Yeah.
When you use soil stabilization and use cement, you use a liquid cement or just a bulk
Dry.
cement?
It's dry bulk
It's
cement.
dry?
Yeah.
You don't have any problems with the neighbors, with the county people about the cement that blow out with The wind, the dust?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. And once again, remember that I'm you know, an emulsion supplier. I've been part of a lot of these projects, but I haven't always been out there when they're doing the cement treat. I know that it hasn't been a problem. You may have one or two people calling in, but when I've seen the process, when they lay down the dry cement, they're right behind it with the reclaimer, adding water and processing. So it's not very messy. If it was an incredibly windy day, I'm sure that they would think twice about doing it. But, and then maybe that's part of one of the reasons that they haven't had any big issues that I've ever heard of. So, yeah.
Hi, Kevin. Could you comment on how you're reaching the state legislature, and are they understanding what you're trying to tell them?
Well, most of the effort that I participate in is through like League of Cities and the California Engineers Association and the County Engineers Association in California. We've had several efforts. I mean, we have people up there knocking on doors all the time. You know, we all pool money. Counties and cities all pool money. Even you know, industry partners like us. Some of the things that we've done recently is we've just gone, we've set up meetings with different elected officials, with the governor's office, and we've gone in there and we've presented a lot of this type of stuff. We've taken the most effective thing that we've done is taken that statewide local streets and roads needs assessment, and that report gets sent to everybody all the time. In fact, we got the 2016 is just coming out right now. We're going to have a big effort probably next month to go up to Sacramento and go knock on doors and explain it to everybody. But listen, we all have contacts up there, and sometimes that's the most effective way. And so that's what we're all kind of doing, is going up there, meeting with elected officials as much as possible, trying to get the assembly people and the legislators to talk to each other and come together and come up with a good, viable plan that can go out to the voters and become approved. So I hope that answers it. Yeah.
Hey, thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, Scott.